I'm not telling you go to bed at 8 p.m. and get up at 5 a.m. and have a really productive 5 a.m. morning routine. You've got to listen to your body and your mind and what it's telling you. I was trying to get into a routine of running 3 times a week and I realised it wasn't working for me because I was getting to the point where I dreaded running. It's just more about those easy wins. No one's messaged me, no one cares, no one's reached out. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It feels so weird sitting down and talking like this because it's really been so long. I think I've forgotten how to do a sit down chatty video, but bear with me while I try and get back into the swing of it. I'm trying to talk a little bit quietly because all of my housemates are in the house and I've never filmed with a full house before and I don't want anyone to hear me because I'm a bit embarrassed. And it's really quiet at the minute, so I feel like everyone could probably hear what I'm saying. So let's hope you can hear me. If not, I think I'll have to edit the audio quite significantly when I'm editing, but we'll see, we'll see. As I've said, just getting back into the swing of it. As you can see from the title of today's video, I'm doing a bit of a sit down deep chat kind of video about my top 10 realistic self-care habits or self-care tips. Some of you might know I've been having a bit of a difficult time at the minute. Things have changed in my life a lot and I'm just trying to adapt a bit more. Like it's daunting being a young person moving to London and then, you know, starting a new job and not being sure if like you're fitting in or you're doing a good job. And then my relationship ended, which I'm not gonna go into, but it has meant that I've spent the last few weeks really trying to adapt to my new life and get into really good self-care habits or routines. So I figured it was a really good time to share with you guys my self-care tips. If any of you have been struggling recently, just as an FYI, I'm doing really good. So I don't want anyone in the comments like really worried. I'm actually doing really good. Works well and my personal life is going really well, so actually in a really positive place. But I suppose that's a really good time then to sit back and reflect on what I did to get through those tough times. And I guess I have a bunch of tips under my belt that I can share with you. I'm by no means an expert, but this is just what really helped me to work things out when I wasn't really sure what was going on in my life and when I felt like things were a bit out of my control, and how I dealt with that. So that said, let's get started. So the first tip is to sleep well. Now this is a really obvious one. I know you're all probably rolling your eyes like, yes, come on Emma, we all know we should be sleeping well. But I feel like it's one we often neglect, especially when we're going through tough times. It can be easy to just sort of sit up at night, your mind's overplaying and you're scrolling on your phone, and it's really easy to fall out of the routine of sleeping well when you're going through a tough time. But for me, I've like really set a routine so my body clock is wired to sleep at the times I know it should be. I usually go to bed between 10 and 11 o'clock at night, and I usually wake up between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. and my body is just trained to do that now, and I don't really need an alarm because it just does that naturally, which is pretty good. But sometimes you can kind of fall out of that when you're in a bit of a rut and your body clock gets messed up and your head's all over the place or you're overthinking. So I really found that like downloading Headspace was really good for me, or watching YouTube videos or listening to rain noises, like calming sort of videos, to just get me in that headspace to sleep. Maybe turning off your phone before bed or not looking at your screen for half an hour or an hour before you're due to sleep, and just listening, having your eyes closed and really getting in that headspace to sleep. That was a really like big game changer for me. Like obviously I'm saying this is a realistic habit as well, because I'm not telling you go to bed at 8 p.m. and get up at 5 a.m. and have a really productive 5 a.m. morning routine. You need to establish your sleeping patterns that work well for you, and everyone works differently. So by no means telling you to, you know, get up super early and start living a different life. If that doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you, but establish the sleeping patterns that do work for you and do work in your routine. So tip number 2 is another obvious one. I'm just going to get them out of the way, but exercise. Doing exercise is so important, and it's a really good habit to get into as a self-care sort of routine, because it obviously releases all of those endorphins, it gets your energy up, you get that sort of good vibe hit after you've exercised. Now if you're like me, you might not like exercise and it might be really hard to motivate yourself, but I think, again, being realistic, you've got to listen to your body and your mind and what it's telling you. There's a big difference between forcing yourself to exercise and giving yourself a gentle nudge, and I often find that I need a bit of a gentle nudge. I'm not going to wake up and be like, oh, I can't wait to exercise today. But if I'm in that headspace of I do not want to exercise at all, I really don't, I'm not in the mood, I don't have the energy, I'm not going to force it. If I wake up and I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered, but the weather's nice and I've been sat at my desk all day, then maybe I can gently nudge myself to exercise. And I think with this one, it's all about listening to yourself and what you're feeling in that moment, and it will differ from day to day, and sometimes it can be hard to get into a routine of it because it's just how you feel when you wake up that morning. But I think listening to myself has really helped, and I was trying to get into a routine of running 3 times a week, and I realised it wasn't working for me because I was getting to the point where I dreaded running. I was like trying to run every other day, and if I got to my on day, my running day, I'd be like, oh, dread, it's running day today. And that's not the kind of attitude you want to have towards exercise, especially we're talking self-care habits here. So I think for me it was about listening to what I wanted to do. If I was like, oh, I really can't be bothered to run today, I'd visualize the route and be like, so far away, and then once I'm there I have to get back. Then it's probably not a run day for me. Instead it might be a light home workout, do a little bit of dumbbells, get a dance routine up, like just trying to find new fun ways of exercising. And exercise isn't always going to the gym and running 5 times a week. It can be going on a hike with your friends, or a daily walk, or, as I've said, getting a dance workout up on YouTube. It doesn't have to be, you know, traditional exercise. Just moving your body in general is a form of exercise and will make you feel good. But I think the important thing here is to mix it up and don't get bored. As I've said, getting into that routine of running 3 times a week, I became really tired of it. Whereas when I bought my weights, or I started finding new dance workouts I liked on YouTube, that's when I actually started enjoying exercise more, because it wasn't just, oh, it's another day of running now. It was like, oh, like I really want to put some Ariana Grande on and have a little dance in my room, you know, like that's self-care, not forcing yourself to do things you don't enjoy. So tip number 3 is to set up a routine and just stick to that, because it kind of gives you something to look forward to, or motivates you, or just having a sort of set plan really helps you to look after yourself. I think getting up at the same time every day, starting work at the same time, or eating your meals at a similar time helps with that body clock thing again. It's like establishing your sleep routine. I think establishing your eating patterns, your going out patterns, things like that just really helps to regulate your life. And once you've got those like healthy habits in place, it kind of means your life works a little bit like clockwork, and it's less stressful because you know what you have to expect of the day. And I think that's been a really good self-care habit for me, but it's always been one that's come quite naturally to me. I know I like my routine and my comforts, and knowing that there are no nasty surprises coming up in my week helps to put my mind at ease. And then that also helps with the eating piece, the sleeping piece. It all kind of interlinks in this big self-care bubble. But I think, again, the one to stress with this, it doesn't have to be rigid or inflexible. I think when a routine becomes too structured and strict, that's when it's not self-care anymore. Like my running 3 times a week, that was a routine that didn't work for me. Whereas a type of routine that does work for me is, obviously we're all working in this blended hybrid working space where we're half in the office, half at home, and being like, yeah, Tuesday, Wednesdays are the days I'll probably go in. They're the days my team are most in the office, so I'll see the most people, and knowing that it's always roughly going to be a Tuesday or Wednesday means I can plan the kind of work I'm going to do based on that week. You know, if I know I'm going to have quiet time at home, then maybe dedicate that time to doing a big task that I know I need focus time for. But if I'm going to be in the office on a Tuesday and Wednesday, then maybe those little bitty tasks that I don't mind getting interrupted, if I'm going to stop and go for a coffee or a tea with someone, or go for lunch, or ask someone about how their weekend is. So those kind of routines are the ones that you should be looking out for in your self-care routine. Now, tip number 4 is going to seem really counterintuitive based off what I've just said, but breaking your routine is also a really good self-care habit. Now, as I've said, I am a creature of habit. I like my routines, my comfort, and I find it really easy to get into sort of bobbing along pace, and then it becomes a bit monotonous. And while that feels comfortable to me, it can then feel quite, I don't know, stifling or boring or mundane, that you're just doing the same things every single day. And that's counterintuitive to your, you know, mental health or self-care, when you just feel like you're in a rut. So I think sometimes you need to establish a routine in order to break your routine, because once you break away from that, then it brings a bit more excitement into your life. Like, I know I always make plans for the weekend, but if someone said, do you want to do dinner after work? We're both in the office on Tuesday. Why don't we go to the pub afterwards? And just agreeing to a spontaneous plan like that, really, I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world, just going for a drink after work. It's not like I'm hopping on the next plane to Paris or whatever. But it's like these little pockets of excitement that just break up your normal routine and that sort of clockwork mundane pattern that you might be getting into. And it doesn't have to be often. I guess the point is that it's not often, because it's more special when you do things that are unexpected. So I think even if it's just once a week or once every couple of weeks or once a month, you just say yes to something that you might normally go, oh no, like I want my early night, I couldn't imagine going out in the middle of a work week. Like, go to that dinner, take yourself off on a solo date, go for a walk, visit somewhere new you've never been before. Just do something a little bit more spontaneous to get out of that rut. Now, tip number 5 kind of links to that good routines piece, but this is more about establishing good habits. So by that I mean things like improving your posture. I noticed I'm slouched right now. Or making sure you always do your skincare routine in the morning, or you're always doing your laundry on time and not letting it stack up, things like that. I found with things like working from home, it's really easy to just roll out of bed 5 minutes before you're due to start. You don't make your bed, you don't do your hair, your makeup, you stay in your pajamas all day. And yes, I think sometimes you do need days like that, and that is self-care too. But I think if you get into a habit of that, then it can actually become more draining than energizing. So sometimes it's nice to just get up an hour, 2 hours before work's due to start and take that time for yourself to really enjoy your cup of tea and make your bed and, you know, get dressed for the day. You might not be going out, but maybe you want to straighten your hair, maybe you want to do your makeup because it feels good for you, not for anybody else, and it just makes you feel like you're a bit more put together, you feel more bright and awake and refreshed because you've gotten ready and not just stayed in your dressing gown all day, which, trust me, I do have days like that. But I think you do need to establish these good habits just to stay bright and refreshed. I'm just looking at my list now because I think I've made a couple of notes so I don't forget anything, but good habits I've put are things like not sitting in your pajamas when you're working from home. On the weekends, don't just stay in bed all day. Like today I woke up, it's my lazy Sunday, I was just gonna stay in my pajamas and not go out, and I started to feel a bit like I was wasting my Sunday. I think, again, you do need some lazy Sundays, but sometimes it's nice just to have one thing in the day that keeps you energized and makes you do something. So put my makeup on and I've sat down to film. That might be going out for a walk for you, or going out to get your groceries. It doesn't have to be anything huge. Just, you know, make sure you've done something in that day. It can just be something small and think, yeah, like I did my laundry today, or I got my groceries in, like things like that. Other ones include washing your sheets. Make sure you change your sheets regularly. I feel like people don't do this often enough, so this is your warning. Change your sheets. Washing your hair is another one. It's nice, like it makes you feel good when you do things like washing your hair, your skincare routine. And another one is drinking more water, which I definitely need to do more of. I forget to drink during the day, but that's a good habit I really need to get into. Just keeping a bottle on my desk, because if it's there I'll drink it, if it's not filled up then I'll forget to go and do it. So just constantly replenishing and making sure things are easily accessible for you in order to enable those good habits. Now, tip number 6 is actually more about other people than yourself, and that's to reach out to people. I don't know if you guys are like me, but I can find it really easy to go, no one's messaged me, no one cares, no one's reached out, I'm having a tough time, and no one's even bothered with me. And then I think, actually, we're all adults, we have really busy lives, and sometimes it's hard to remember to stay in contact with one another. And unless I tell people I'm having a tough time, they're not gonna know, and they're not gonna know that I need to be reached out to. Or even if I'm not necessarily having a tough time and I'm just like, oh, I feel a bit lonely, or I could do with chatting to someone or having a catch up, then you should go and initiate that. Otherwise you get into this weird stalemate of you're waiting for them to message, but they might also be waiting for you to message too. So just get rid of those thoughts of no one cares and just be the first one to reach out. Like, people do care. We're just so swept up in our own lives that we can sometimes forget to reach out, and maybe you need to be that person to reach out first to get the ball rolling. And chances are I actually find when I reach out like this, I usually get a similar response of like, oh, it's so nice to hear from you, I've been feeling really down at the minute, and it's been so nice, you've like really lifted my spirits, or oh, I've been feeling so lonely, it's so good that you've messaged, like that's come at such a right time for me. So I think the kick you get out of it will be a similar feeling for the person you've messaged as well. Like you'll both feel really good after talking to each other, and it's nice to show that you care about other people too, because that makes you feel good, it makes them feel good, and then that might just be what they need to remember to reach out to you next time. So then again, you've like established a good pattern or a good routine where you've thought about somebody else, so that might in turn prompt them to think about you next time. Tip number 7, I feel like I've mentioned this in my good routines, good habits points, but have a good skincare routine. Look after your skin. I feel like it's one we often neglect when we think about letting our self-care routines go, letting ourselves go, and I'm someone who's always really struggled with my skin, so for me in particular it's very important to maintain a good skincare routine. I think when we're in a bit of a rut, we can start eating junk food, we can stop doing our skincare routine, and it really shows, and that's maybe the first physical thing we notice when we're going through a tough time. So I think for me, just, I know this is going to sound silly and a bit gross, but just remembering to wash your face first thing in the morning or before you go to bed, taking your makeup off properly, things like that make such a huge difference. And if you're sitting judging and thinking, oh, she doesn't wash her face in the morning, we all have that, we all do that. Sometimes if you're just having a tough time, it's not the first thing you think of. Sometimes you're just like, I need to make it out of bed today. Like, you know, making sure you keep on top of that skin thing and investing in nice products. Like it makes you feel really good when you're like, oh, I've washed my face with this nice like product that I wouldn't normally use, I wouldn't treat myself to, and I feel like really fresh and awake, you know, and you get all that like junk out of your eyes, your skin feels less oily, and you just feel brighter and fresher in the face. And I think that's the first step to starting your day well. Number 8 kind of links to that last point, but treat yourself. And I'm not talking buy yourself a 5-course meal and treat yourself out to an expensive dinner, or spend £200 on new clothes and things like that. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be really little things. Like for example, today I woke up, it's my lazy Sunday, as I've said, I've got some free time on my hands. Normally I wouldn't make myself a chai latte because I don't really have the time to do it. Like you've got to heat the milk up, I've got to get my little frother out, and it just takes time, you know, with my little cinnamon dusting on the top and spoonful of my agave syrup, or however you pronounce it. And I was like, you know, I've got time today, I haven't got any plans. It's a chill day for me. So that was my little treat yourself of the day, just dedicating time to make myself a chai latte, which seems really small, but it's made me feel really good. I'm like, oh, I treated myself, like I feel great, like I've really looked after myself today, did something I wouldn't normally do. Again, like breaking that routine as well, it links back to that point. Oh yeah, another one is like buying myself almond butter. Like it's a little bit more expensive. I'd normally get peanut butter, or I wouldn't bother at all, but oh, it's payday, and what am I gonna do? Treat myself to some almond butter. Like it's not going to break the bank if I do it once every so often. It's a treat because I don't do it all the time. So I'm like, oh, got myself some almond butter. Like I know that sounds so silly, like, but I feel like nothing is too silly or too small as a treat to yourself. If that's something you know you enjoy and you don't normally get, then you know that's what you enjoy, and it's going to lift your spirits when you do treat yourself to it. So remember, it's the small things. It doesn't have to be huge, it doesn't have to be expensive. Just, you know, find what you enjoy and treat yourself to it every now and then. Tip number 9 is so important to me, and I didn't quite realise how important it was until recently, but listening to music can really change my mood. I didn't realise how much music affects my mood. If I'm sad and I start playing sad songs, then it's just a downward spiral from there. But if I feel a bit, you know, tired and lacking energy and a bit on the bottom and in a bit of a rut, if I just put some like really upbeat pop music on, it does like cheesy top 40 hits or whatever, or you know, summer hits 2022 on Spotify, play it through my speaker, it will instantly lift my mood. Like I just didn't realise like how huge of an effect music can have on me, and I feel like it's the same for a lot of people, but just something as simple as that can really get me up, get me moving. And to be honest, if I put that on, I could be hoovering my room, doing my chores, I could be having a little dance. Like it gets me moving as well, and it just gets me motivated. Like if I'm not feeling exercise, like if I know I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered, but like I can gently nudge myself, I know it's a gently nudge myself kind of day, I will put my music on, I'm going to start dancing, and then instantly I'm doing a weights routine now, like, or I'm doing a dance workout now. So just sometimes that is what you need as a gentle nudge to get up and do those things. Like if you know you don't like doing your hoovering or cleaning your room or tidying your room, then it can just help to nudge you along and make that task seem a bit easier and more manageable as well. So definitely listen to music, some good, positive, upbeat tunes just to get you going. And finally, tip number 10 is a bit more all-encompassing, and that's to stay on top of things. Now, it can be really easy to let little things build up until it all seems like a huge problem, and sometimes I'm the worst for doing this. Not necessarily letting things stack up, but just seeing all of my smaller things as one big mammoth problem. And it's a lot easier when you chunk it down, but it's also a lot easier when you do these little things as they come, rather than leaving them all till the end, or to do them all at once. I think sometimes you can be like, oh, that's a small task, I'll leave it till next week. But if you do that with all of your small tasks, then you've got 10 small tasks to do next week, and then it just seems like one big task. And I'm not necessarily talking like things at work, though I think a prime example of that is not responding to an email in your inbox, for example. If it's a quick, easy response, just do it. Why wait? Why think, oh, it's just a small email, I'll do it later? If it's such a small and easy email to reply to, just do it. But I'm also thinking things at home, like, I bet there are some of you watching who have a pile of cups in your room right now in the corner, or a stack of plates that you haven't washed, or a pile of dirty laundry, or my personal worst is leaving out my clothes horse, or like my drying rack, whatever you call it, with all my laundry on for like a whole week. It's all dry, it needs folding up and putting away, it needs to be sorted into what needs ironing and what doesn't, but I'll just leave it stood in my room, and it's taking up space. It's a bit of an eyesore. Every time I see it, it makes me feel guilty that I haven't taken it down, and sometimes I need to just be like, do it. You've got the time to do it. Why have you just left it there? Just do it. Yeah, don't let those small things build up, because then all of a sudden I've got the emails to reply to, the plates to wash, the laundry to fold up, the laundry to iron, the bed sheets to wash, and then all of these little manageable things now feel really unmanageable. So it's such a good self-care tip to just do those small things to alleviate the stress and the pressure from yourself. Like, that is a really good way of looking after yourself, by not adding to the list of stresses. So those are my top 10 self-care tips. I mean, they're probably nothing new to you, but sometimes they're just things you need to be told, and I did want to keep it realistic, because, you know, I'm not out here exercising at 5 AM every morning and going to bed at 9 o'clock every night and eating really healthy all the time and making myself green smoothies and things. Like, a lot of us don't have the time for that, so it's just more about those easy wins of how can I look after myself, how can I make sure I've got good self-care habits in place, so that when things do get tough, it's fine, because I know how to look after myself and how to manage those things. So let me know in the comments below if you do any of these things, or let me know if there are any I've pointed out that you actually hadn't thought of before, and if there's any I've missed, please do share with each other. Let's build a little community where we can all help each other to build better self-care habits. And thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Remember to like and subscribe, and bye for now.